Do boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider? Do girls really go to college to get more knowledge? Look, I'm a simple woman, and I honestly just don't have the answers to the world's biggest questions. But what I do know is that all the boys in New York City, they like the way I shake my booty. Your mom, your dad, your bald-headed grandma, she's stupid, she whack, and she thinks she all that. Y'all remember that? Me? Now? Just me? Okay. Hi, my name is Kita Wita, and I like to draw and talk about stuff sometimes. So sit back, relax, and give me just a minute or two to talk about one of my favorite subjects in the entire world. You may have guessed it, or you may have not, but let me give you a hint. Did you guess it? Did you guess it? No, you didn't guess it? Oh, okay, that's fine. Well, look, I'm gonna talk about it anyway. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a big ass kid. I still love toys, although differently than when I was younger. I love my Bratz, Monster Highs, Polly Pockets, Barbies, whatever I could get my hands on. I kept myself entertained for hours between dolls and the TV. Nowadays, I like to collect more than play, but my love hasn't gone anywhere. I still have a good handful of dolls from my childhood that have gone pretty much everywhere I've went. Accessories are missing and some hair is cut, but nonetheless, the memories are still there. So this begs the question, what's a bitch gotta do to get a Beyblade around this motherfucker? Like, don't get me wrong, I loved my dolls. I loved pink. I even loved my Supergirl Halloween costume. I wore that shit all year long. But I would be lying if I said boy media didn't have me in a chokehold. I mean, come on. Ben 10, Danny Phantom, Tech Decks, Justice League, TMNT, Beyblades, Bakugans, Nerf, hell, even fucking Mighty Beans. I loved all of these things just as much or even more than the media directed towards girls. For me, these things went hand in hand with each other. And every year, Toys R Us would send out that catalog with the latest toys and games, and every year I would circle what I wanted, hand it back to my mom, and cross my fingers. And don't get it twisted. My mom always got me what I wanted and then some. But there was always something missing, and little me would always ask why said items were missing or why we couldn't walk down certain aisles in the toy store. My mom's answer was always the same. That's for boys. Plain and simple. But why? I got so tired of hearing that shit growing up. I could watch all the boys' shows I wanted, but no toys, clothes, or video games. I wasn't even allowed to have Ken dolls, so of course Barbie was a coochie warrior in my household. Looking back, I guess there was a lot of variety in shows and toys between boys and girls, but it just didn't feel like it. Back then, it felt like boys just had so much more to choose from. And even things that necessarily weren't advertised for one or the other would get defaulted depending on how the media was presented. It could be something as little as the color palette, and parents would still say that's for boys or that's for girls, even though said media was loved by every single kid on the planet. In this conversation, I kind of feel for the boys a little bit back then, especially because they were always pushed to not engage with any media meant for girls, which was weird because there was no shame from my peers if I told them I liked watching things like Sonic X. But let a nigga back then say he wanted to watch Totally Spies. Oh, they was on his ass. And companies themselves also entered the ring in the whole boys versus girls fight. Actually, a lot of companies were dependent on it. Alright, ladies and germs, time to put on your thinking caps. When a company comes up with a new product or show, they have to invest in marketing. Their marketing is going to be geared towards a certain demographic. That demographic is who they're hoping will be the majority of their consumers/viewers. How do they reach their demographic? If you guessed B, please stay after class. We need to call your parents. For children's media in particular, it's also important that they sell toys. Toys are really the moneymaker when it comes to this, because what kid doesn't love a toy? Let me break it down for you. So a kid watches a show. Kid loves said show. Kid begs mommy and daddy to buy them a toy based off the show. Mommy and daddy argue because the economy is in ruin. And dad, even though both parents said no, goes and buys a toy anyway because mommy's a bitch. Kid shows off toy and mommy asks daddy if they can go speak in private. Mommy and daddy talk really, really loud and daddy packs a suitcase and leaves. Mommy wins custody and daddy marries his coworker. To make a long story short, if the toys are bought, that means money is coming in and that money goes towards the show and keeps it going. But that also brings us back to the target demographic. If the demographic is boys, but girls are the ones watching the show, that changes everything. A parent is going to look at the Omnitrix, might even watch the same commercial and determine that their daughter shouldn't have that toy because, to put it simply, it's not made for her. That necessarily wouldn't be a problem, especially for a huge toy company or network, but it becomes one when the majority of their demographics' parents won't buy the toy. No toy means no money. No money means... But you gotta admit, this is cool. I mean, it's not my fault you guys didn't add pink variations to your show. Sometimes I'll look up old cartoons, especially once they got canceled, and try and figure out why they had the fate that they did. And quite a few blame their dismay partially on toy sales or lack thereof. Some examples being Danny Phantom, Young Justice, R.I.P. First season was Chef's Kiss, Thundercats, 2011 to be exact, Teen Titans, Invader Zim, Symbionic Titan, and a few others. Hell, I was in the right age demographic for all of these shows, and I didn't even know some of these guys had toys. Has anyone ever seen a Symbionic Titan toy, actually? Nowadays, I feel like a lot of kids' media lasts a relatively long time. Streaming has a lot to do with it, but it also feels like companies go all the way in when it comes to merchandise. Even shit that you think wouldn't have merch, trust me, it has merch. And this also reminds me of when Nerf came out with the girls' variation of their toys in 2013. I was part of that demographic at the time, and let me tell you right now, I thought that shit was ass. All Nerf had to do was take the toys they already had and make them pink or purple. I'm sorry, I don't want diamonds and flowers on a crossbow. I wanted the fucking Nerf and Strike Vulcan EBF-25 in pink. At the end of the day, I loved my childhood, and my experience probably has a lot to do with the fact that I grew up in a household with just my sister and my mom. I'm sure there's people out there who grow up with a totally different experience, who had their brothers and cousins and things like that, so their opinion differs from mine. I don't know. I've just been thinking about this topic a lot lately, and I just wanted to come on here and talk about it. So if you liked, you liked. If you didn't, then what'd you stay to the end for? The fuck? And while we're here, I've also been really trying to delve into my forgiveness era, you know? I don't necessarily have any exes that I need to forgive, so maybe I can recommend for my viewers to do that. You know, you guys should really go out there. If you had an ex that you ended with bad terms on, why don't you go ahead and just reach out? You know, really take that weight off your shoulders and your spirit and forgive, you know? I'm just kidding. Fuck that nigga. See you in the next one. Bye.